Hello, Western Civ, and welcome to week 13. And we are getting close to the end, and yet the information is more applicable than ever. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to be having you watch a lot of videos that are not my lectures this week. I've opened it up to a lot of discussions. I've opened up the discussion to be basically any topic that you would like to pick. So just please think through the material and make it interesting, right? And here is where we get to the controversial part of Western civilization. And I think that it's very important, not just for everybody to know or understand, but if you grow up in the United States or Europe, and you are white, to be blunt, coming from a European ethnic background, it's easy to look at the legacy of Western civilization from a much more positive light, or to forgive certain things or to overlook certain things, while for others, sometimes I think, I've had students tell me, or I've met people who are surprised at the hostility that they may get from people of various ethnic or national backgrounds. Well, there is a historical context to this. And as I've been traveling, this legacy has really weighed on my mind. I went to several countries, and some of them, just to give you an idea of what made me think about this, the Netherlands in Leiden was one of my most enjoyable trips. I stayed there, excuse me, got something in my throat here. One of my most enjoyable trips. I was there for around 2 months, a little over 2 months, a few months ago. I was so amazed in Amsterdam, loved it. But the wealth that's generated there, and same thing with Belgium, by the way, I went there as well. Love the architecture, the development of the roads. Certainly, those are countries that have developed themselves amazingly and, built things that last. But they did generate their wealth on extracting it very violently from other nations outside of the West. When I went to Thailand was called Siam up until the 30s. Thailand means, according to the Thai people, land of the free. Think that the United States is land of the free. Well, Thailand is officially the land of the free. Now, their idea of what they mean by freedom is not that they're talking about individual freedom. Trust me, I know. Living there, if you say anything bad about the king, you'll see where your individual freedom goes. You see what I'm saying? But this is collective freedom, sovereignty. Because Thailand is one of the only nations in Southeast Asia that boasts to have not been colonized by a European country. And that's where they celebrate their name and their legacy from. So the very identity of Thais is somewhat based on a nationalist level on the fact that they were able to not become subjugated like Laos and Vietnam and Cambodia and Indonesia and the Philippines. And the Philippines, I went there, of course, and I was reading about what the United States did to the Philippines at the turn of the 20th century with President McKinley. It's a pretty horrible. And in fact, waterboarding, which many have defined as torture that was used controversially also in the war in Iraq, actually was a method that was first used by the United States on Filipino insurgents who were fighting for their freedom from a U.S. occupation, because we took the land from the Spanish rulers And the Filipinos were trying to fight for their freedom. And then we, as they were wanting to be independent, we crushed them, and quite violently. I mean, massive amounts of torture and death and destructions that were inflicted on the Filipinos by us. Now, the thing is, the Japanese later would come in and do such mean things that we were able to help liberate the Filipinos from them. And so I kind of noticed that our legacy there doesn't necessarily, is more in the past, and there's more of a bitter legacy about the Japanese occupation now. But it's just something to think about, to address, especially when we don't really probably even think about that at all. I can go on and on about all these different things. Now, so here I am in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was under the British. And I went to Macau recently, which was under the Portuguese. But, I want to say this. I think also the Western colonial legacy is not a one-size-fits-all. While many Chinese that I've met, I just had lunch with an older Chinese gentleman. He's not a fan of some of the politics that's happened outside of here, but he was not a fan of the British occupation as well. And but at the same time, the British left a country in a very great economic state. Hong Kong has a lot of poverty and wealth disparity, but the British left Hong Kong in, let's say, better shape than the Belgians left the Congo. Let's put it that way. So again, it's all imperialism, it's all colonialism, but it's not like the results of what ends up happening is not the same. Yeah, I just think it's a good thing to reflect upon now. And so I'm going to leave you some pictures that I have. I left some earlier on announcement, me recently being in Macau. I'm going to just leave underneath this announcement 2 short clips that somebody randomly made on Hong Kong and Macau. They're like 3 minutes each. You can watch them if you want or not. I just thought it was like maybe be nice for you guys to get a little idea of where I've been teaching you from and how it links to the history in many ways of what we're going over here in these sections. So if you have any questions, please contact me, as I always say, and I hope you're having a great week, and we'll be in touch.